Hey, welcome back. Episode 2, Fulltime Dreamer Podcast. I'm glad you're here. If you haven't listened to episode 1, if you're new here and you haven't checked out episode 1, go check it out. This podcast is a place for me to just share my story of what we're trying to build as a family, my career as a full-time artist, Christian hip-hop artist, and to raise a family as we pursue that. And it's awesome. It's crazy. It's fun. My prayer is that the witness of our family would encourage more people to step out and push into the risks that they feel called to take by the Lord and push into fear and find God in the midst of it. Because I think there's a lot of people who have callings on their life, but they don't press into it because of fear. And we addressed this in episode 1, but fear from the outside's scary, but once you press into it, it's not as bad as you'd think it is, and it actually propels me. I wrote a song today, and I wrote this lyric that said, "Fear has been a friend to me, right up next to Jesus, through the darkest nights when I feel like I'm under siege, underneath all the pressure." I forget how I finished it, but just this idea of as I'm journeying as an artist and I'm out here in my studio every day alone, just working, and I feel like Jesus is sitting next to me, crafting these songs with me and making these videos and this podcast. It's a prayerful experience. My work is a prayerful experience, and right up next to Jesus, next to me, is fear, because there's always this concept of I'm kind of always living in fear of God, what if this doesn't work? Or what if people don't listen to these songs? Or what if people don't tune into the podcast or whatever? And rather than seeing that as a negative, it almost has become this comforting thing. It's here and I'm just really familiar with it. And I'm I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of fear. Come on in, come on, sit down. Watch me prove you wrong. This is going to work. So I would hope that this podcast encourages y'all. If you're listening right now, that my life and the witness of our family would just encourage you to press into the fear that you're facing in your life and allow God to help you, navigate that and maybe call you deeper into it. But one of my favorite authors has this quote that I really think sums up what this podcast means to me and what I want it to be. Henry Nouwen, love Henry Nouwen. And he's got this quote that says, "Ministry means the ongoing attempt to put one's own search for God with all the moments of pain and joy, despair and hope at the disposal of those who want to join the search but don't know how." I'm going to read that again. Ministry means the ongoing attempt to put one's own search for God. So my search for God, with all the moments of pain and joy, despair and hope at the disposal of those who want to join the search but do not know how. And that's, man, I feel that really sums this up. So many people I encounter have big dreams, have huge desires, feel like God has given them a vision for something, but they just don't know how to do it. And I'm like, it just takes a lot of courage, right? If you feel called to it, it just takes a lot of courage, and courage is hard to come by. Because before you get to courage, you have to wrestle with comparison, you have to wrestle with fear, you have to wrestle with insecurity, and all of that stuff gets in the way before you can even muster up the courage to say, I want to go do the thing, or God, or to go before the Lord and give him real permission to speak over the vision or the gifts or the talents that you have to go build whatever you want to build or pursue whatever you want to pursue. And so I love this, because my hope would be that by putting out these podcast episodes, having my friends on from the music industry or just the creative space or other entrepreneurs or just friends, whoever it is, that by the stories we share and the witness of our life, we would actually encourage people and show them how to join the search, right? Show them how to press in and dig in and follow God and build the call, press into the call that God has for their life. Because for us, it's full-time music, me as an artist, and us building that as a family. And I've said this to a lot of people. I would never recommend doing what I'm doing unless you feel called to it. It is very difficult. It's a very volatile career path. There's a lot of ups and downs. The pressure to make money off creative art is insane. It's broken me at times. So I would never recommend it to anybody unless you feel called to it. And then if you feel called to it, I would be like, how can I help? Let's go. Let me run alongside you and figure out how we can do this, and what can I share, or what kind of questions do you have? And and I think a lot of what I've experienced in that space can be applied to any pursuit. It doesn't have to be music, but anybody who feels like there's a calling on their life and they feel like fear or comparison or insecurity, or it's just daunting, anything that's getting in the way. My hope is, like Henry Nouwen had said, that by sharing my moments of pain and joy, of despair and hope, and putting those at your disposal as a listener, it would show you how to join the search. would show you how to start the pursuit. So that's this podcast. Thanks again for tuning in. Hey, we hit over 100 downloads on the first episode, which is crazy. I love that. Wasn't expecting that, so thank you for that. Let's keep that going. But today, as we dive in here, I want to share just quickly one of the things God spoke so clearly over our family's life as we discerned this jump into full-time music. And probably these first 10 episodes or so are going to be like kind of telling the backstory of how we got to where we are. And then from there, we'll just kind of be off and running. But when we were praying into quitting my job as a creative director and jumping into artistry full-time, it was just a crazy time. We were also expecting our fourth daughter, Tegan. So she was going to be born in April. And then we were going to quit my job in May, and then we'd be off and running. And so there was just a ton of pressure. Like I was feeling so much pressure of like being able to provide financially, specifically for my family in this time of crazy transition, but also having to finish out my time at a full-time job. I couldn't just kind of detach from that so I could focus on the future. And I'm also very much a firm believer in like God had me at the job for a very specific reason, and I loved it. So I wasn't supposed to pull myself out of it yet. Like I committed until the end of May. I was going to dig in and do my best until the end of May and then trust God with June, which June was the beginning of my full-time artistry back in 2023. So as we were praying into that craziness and I was feeling the pressure to provide, God spoke something very, very clear over our family. And I can probably count on one hand the number of times God has spoken to me audibly. And this was one of them. Again, looking out at this daunting pursuit of music, trying to make money, trying to build a career out of this, not just a short-term thing, but a long-term thing. Praying into all of that, expecting a new daughter soon. And God said, Connor, I can do more with your rest than you can with your work ethic. That's what he said to me. God just, stopped me in my tracks and said, Connor, I could do more with your rest than you can with your work ethic. And I'm a guy who loves to hustle. I'm a guy who loves to build the thing. I'm a guy who loves to use my hands and use my gifts and pour it all out for the sake of building something awesome and beautiful. And so that was like, wait, what? Like, you're going to do this? You're going to provide in the ways that I'm not ready for and can't expect or can't control. Like in a time when I'm like, no, I got to grind. Like I got to be up all night, up early in the morning, pedal to the metal, be doing all of the things to make sure we're financially covered and we're putting all the pieces in place for this to really grow. God was like, nope, yeah, you need to work hard, but this is going to be a season of rest. And surprise, surprise, right? It actually was like that. We quit my job in May. And so starting June 1st of 2023 was the beginning of full-time artistry. And it was a very peaceful time. It was a very restful time. Why? Because very practically, I was working from home, so I was able to be home with my kids, with my family all the time, which was amazing. And two, we had enough gigs, just enough, right? There was very little padding financially in that first year. I mean, even now, it's still, we're always kind of pushing up against that line. But that's what happens when you're building a business and you're taking a big risk like this. But God provided. We had just enough to the point where I didn't have to worry. And so I wasn't operating out of a place of anxiety and fear and worry, which will be the first thing to destroy your rest and to destroy your internal peace. And so I didn't have to operate out of that space because, we had enough opportunities which provided for us financially and in other ways that that first year, it was restful. It was a slower pace of life for my family, and it was incredible. And I think we're coming out of that as now it's okay, we got to really build this thing and seek out more opportunities and whatnot, which I'm grateful for, and I'm excited to be busier. But it's just taught me so much more about rest. Specifically last year, I'm still unpacking all of what I learned about rest, because rest is really just an act of trust. Like when you rest before the Lord, you're saying, God, I actually trust you enough with my time that I'm going to step back from this knowing that you've got it, that you're in control, that you're going to make things happen that I can't even imagine. And, I forget what proverb it is, but commit your work to the Lord and your plans will be established. And I felt like that was my life. Every day I woke up and I just did what I could and didn't worry about it. I committed that day's worth of work to the Lord and was like, Lord, establish the plan. I'm committing my work to you, and I'm going to trust that you're going to establish this plan that I have because I've prayed about it and I've pursued you in it, and I feel like the plan that I have is actually a plan that you've given me, and so let's build this thing together. And that has been such just an incredible way to operate, but it takes so much work. Like, it's not easy. Like, resting is not easy. Slowing down is not easy. I have this phrase that I've used in content and in songs, but like, work hard, trust God, and rest more. And I really think that's the secret sauce. I think that's the equation we need to follow for our life. Like, work hard, like really work hard, trust God, and then rest more. Because I mean, rest, when you even, it's biblical. Like, if you go back and look at it, and this is one of my favorite examples, especially to kind of share this story with creatives, that in the creative process of how the world was made, 7 days, God on the seventh day, he rested. And I think for the longest time I thought, oh yeah, God, that was like a heavy lift. Like, it was a heavy lift to make the world, and get through all of that. So of course he rested because he was tired. And it wasn't until just recently that I was like really praying into that, because I went back through the Bible as God was speaking this word of rest and slowing down over our family, that I went back in. I was like, where are examples of this being played out in the Bible scripturally? Where can I find these stories where rest is taking place? And I didn't have to go far. I went right to the beginning. And it dawned on me, it was like, oh, God rested to model it for us. Like, he knew that we were going to want to have, control our life. He knew that we would feel better if we knew what was going to happen next. He knew that we would work ourselves into the ground. So he rested intentionally so that it would be a model for us as his children to rest. And I think specifically in the creative world, like, building in rest to the creative process is crucial, because you'll burn yourself out in songwriting, design, photo, video, you name it. Like, there's always a temptation to just go, because you're trying to keep up with the digital space. But if you don't give yourself time to recharge and time to download new ideas from the Lord and new, fresh vision, fresh creativity, like a fresh sense of what does the Holy Spirit want from you that day, then you're going to burn out. And I think that's one of the coolest parts about being a creative in the Christian space, is like, every day is a new opportunity. Like, every day is a new opportunity. Like, when I walk out in my studio every day, it's like, God, what adventure do you have for me today? What song am I going to pull out of thin air that you've already put in the studio, and I have to just come in here and kind of find it today? What song have you placed in my heart? What idea, what melody, what concept, what scripture am I going to open up to today that you're going to have something for me? And maybe it's for my work, or maybe it's just for me. And that's kind of one of the hard parts about being in this line of work that you have to decipher, is like, not everything from God is meant to be put into art. Not everything from God is meant to be produced into a piece of content. Not everything from God is meant to be, recreated into some form of a product. Like, oftentimes, what's from God is just for you. It's just for me. Like, he wants to just speak to our hearts. He just wants to speak to my heart first and foremost before he expects me to make anything out of it. And I think oftentimes I overlook that. And I would encourage you, if you're in any space like that, if you find yourself kind of pushing the limits, feeling like you're burnt out, moving too fast, maybe you've been kind of a little too transactional with what God is saying to you and then your output of that. Maybe it's just meant for you. Maybe you should just sit and let those words that the Lord's speaking, or the scriptures that he's given you, just be for you for a bit before you spin it into a song, or spin it into a piece of content, or spin it into whatever. And what I love about rest right now, and the idea of rest and it trusting God, it's really almost like a resistance to how our culture operates. Like, we don't operate that way as a world. Like, it's go, go, go. Like, especially in the creative space and the arts, being in the digital space, like, you have to produce something every day to stay relevant. You have to be up. I mean, even as a consumer, you have to consume so much every day to stay in the know. Everything's a headline. Everything is quick hitting and fast, and you have to have an opinion about it, and you have to have a well-formed opinion immediately as an event happens. Before it even fully unfolds, you have to know where you stand, know what happened, know what you think and believe about it. And that's why I love this word of rest over our family, because like, I don't have to live by those rules. I don't play by the world's rules. And as Christians, we're not called to play by the world's rules. Like, it's okay to rest. and to slow down and to take things in slowly and to operate slowly and to operate on God's time and not on the world's time. And it really is, it's a level of like resistance to how our culture is constantly trying to force us to respond to different the ways of the world. So when we rest, we're saying, God, I trust you and I can't do this on my own. And I think, what if we took that approach to everything in our life? What if we took that approach to our work? What if we took that approach to our family? God, I trust you and I can't do this on my own. What if we took this approach to how we viewed politics? Like, God, I trust you. I can't do this on my own. I can't form these opinions on my own. I need to be informed by you. What if we took that approach, you name it, with our careers? Like, God, whatever is in front of me today, I trust you with. I can't do this on my own. I need you to be a part of it. It also proves to us, this idea of rest, that our identity isn't in our productivity, which that is a huge one. And, for me right now, I'm not producing a lot of content. I don't have a lot of output right now because I'm working on an album. So there's not a lot coming out of this studio into the world for people to see that would show them, I'm like really an artist and I'm building things and I'm making things. And that's kind of been hard for me. I'm like, I just want to show everybody what I'm cooking up. But my identity is not rooted in that. My identity is not rooted in my productivity. And I think that's something that this world, needs to be reminded of regularly. It also says that God's provision, we trust in God's provision rather than our own efforts. The idea of rest is trusting in God's provision rather than our own efforts. And rest also speaks or also can proclaim over our lives the idea that we believe in God's timing over our own schedules. And that, I think that's one of the biggest things, is like God's timing is everything. I have so many stories of how God, how his timing has triumphed over and conquered my own plans and my own expectations and my own timeline for things. And we will never understand that, or we'll never be available to his timing or aware of it if we're not slowing down and allowing God to work. Like, if we're just foot on the gas, go mode all the time, we will never give God a chance to kind of insert himself and allow his plan to unfold and his timing to unfold. And so as y'all leave today and as you go about your day, I'm not sure if you're listening to this in the morning or in the evening or wherever you're at, so maybe this is something you apply tomorrow, but like, I want to encourage y'all to rest more. And that could look practical. My guess is most people just need more practical rest, probably more sleep in general. I know I do. But that also looks spiritual. Like, what does it look like to trust God with what you have today? Like, what is in front of you? What is the workload on your plate? What is laboring on your heart and on your mind that you need to say, God, I trust you with, and I can't do this on my own? And these are just a couple examples, but it helps frame this idea of resting as an act of trust and really as an act of receiving life very practically. Like, I'm just going to read these off. How long can a swimmer go without coming up for air? Right? Not very long. How long can a runner sprint without stopping to recover? How long can an airplane fly without being refueled? How long can your phone operate without being charged? And I if you're like me, I can't stand when my phone is on low power mode. It drives me nuts. I kind of get anxious about it. I'm like, I just want to see it. I want to see the battery charged up. It needs to be green. Like, when it's on low power mode, I'm like living in fear that it's going to die soon. And how often am I on low power mode? Probably pretty often am I operating in the low power mode space because I'm not resting enough, allowing myself to be recharged. So as you guys go about your day, I want to encourage you to work hard, to trust God, and to rest more, and know that, like, resting is giving God permission to take back control of your life. If you feel like you've grabbed the reins, when you're resting, you're saying, God, I love you, and I trust you with what I have today, and I know I'll be better for it on the other end. So work hard, trust God, rest more. I really think that's the secret sauce to finding peace in your pursuit and for retaining joy in your heart. And really, it could be the first step in finding the courage to press in with the Lord about, hey, God, what are you calling me to today? Maybe I've let a lot of fear and anxiety and all this stuff and worry get in the way because I haven't had a chance to slow down, hear your voice, and then act on it. So work hard, trust God, rest more. Appreciate y'all. See you at the next episode. Peace.